Hello and welcome to my channel. And today I would like to talk about a supplement for basic fantasy RPG that I mentioned several times called Hexcrawl Adventures. And I would like to run through the document and show you um, how what type of content we have here. What I can say is this is a supplement that's really useful for the solo player. It can be used as well by the GM to prepare some stuff, of course. Even with no prep, the GM can use these to play with their group. However, I have been using it for solo, and um, it's simple, it is consistent, and I think it has everything that is needed for this kind of adventure. Um, Personally, I think that the best solo approach, at least for me, is kind of sandbox adventure and exploration slash sandbox and so on, rather than creation of a story. Um, some as we can see, for instance, in the Me, Myself, and I channel, Travel is a storyteller. His goal is to make a show, as he stated already several times in his videos. But most of the times, depending on the goal that you have, um, yeah, the I believe that sandbox is the best approach. If you would like to write a book, of course, this is sandbox could not be the best fit for you. But if you would like to tell a story as well, journaling and so on, maybe something more story based would be useful. But for if you just want to explore a world and see what happens and have a party of characters and see how they handle stuff, I believe that this is the best. Okay, I already talked a lot about my opinion about this. Let's go through this document. Hexcrawl Adventures by Luke Kennedy. I already mentioned it. This is the release 18. This is the latest one available in the Basic Fantasy RPG forum, and I would like to show you the forum very briefly. Okay, anyone can reach these. I will put the link in the description of this video, but you can see here that there is some documents here actually for downloads, the whole document or just the tables if you want only the tables. And there is this link to a channel, a YouTube channel that belongs to the creator, if I'm not wrong, of this document, and it's really great. So please check this content as well, because it's a channel called Easy GURPS NA, and he has this list for only Hexcrawl Adventures, using these supplement together with the Basic Fantasy RPG core rules, and some additional documents can be found here as well. So going back to the document, it has an introduction. I will not read the whole document, it doesn't make sense. It's only 16 pages, but it doesn't make sense. It's free, so you can just download this and read by yourself. But it explains a little bit the purpose of this document, the motivation, and so on. And it says here that it could be used. It's here, yeah, itself. Well, one will find the style of play lends to itself well to solo play as well. So one person alone play as GM as well as the players, and this is really where it shines, at least for me as a solo player. So there are there is this table for experience that you can earn by exploring map, cave, dungeons, clearing some hexes of monsters. If you get money, so you basically can exchange money per XP. It's a way of leveling your characters as well. The idea here is basically to go through the map, kill monsters, grab loot, and that's it. And then you use the money to earn more XP, to buy stuff, yeah, and so on. And there is this table, as I said. When you become rich, and I never became rich, at least at this moment, I still do not have too much money. But you can build a stronghold. There is some kind of effect in the party. If one party member dies, we need to roll to see if the group or if a party member can have a fear of the monster or the trap or the situation that caused death. This remind me a little bit some computer games that has this mechanic, and you can get rid of this fear afterwards if you pay for drinking, partying, gambling, praying, and so on. So just to remove these. Otherwise, with this fear, you can have some penalties when you face the same situation that killed your colleague. This is, of course, the most important part is the terrain creation. So based on the current hex, it suggests some results here. So you roll 1d12. If you are in a mountain, for instance, and roll an 11, you are the next hex is going to be plains. There is this table for vegetation as well. It doesn't mean that you are in a mountain. It doesn't mean that if you are in a mountain there is no vegetation. Actually, you can have some vegetation, and always based in the current hex that you are. Same for water. One thing that it's missing here initially, as you can see, is a weather table. There is no weather table here. What I do, actually, I use another table, or sometimes I just make it simple and I roll a 1d20 and I just define if it's 1 it's really cold, if it's 20 it's really hot. It can be used like this, or a hex flower, or any other table from any other game. But it could be actually irrelevant as well if you are just going to explore and so on. There are a lot of things that you need to keep track of, so maybe whether it would be too much if it is irrelevant. Once you roll the hex and define the terrain type, the vegetation, and water, you can see if there is a point of interest. Basically, you roll 1d8, and if you get a 1, it means that there is a point of interest, and then you can roll 1d20 to see what is this point of interest. And if it is a ruins or a cave or a tomb or a lair, or it could be in the end a dungeon, so you can just afterwards explore these, and then you can face some danger, and hence you could get some loot as well. And as after the point of interest, you roll to see if there is any monster, and it's in a row of 1d6. If you roll 1, it means that you have a random monster, and this supplement is based on basic fantasy. So instead of recreating some tables, it is just set to go to a page in the book. So it happens very often here. As you can see, for the type of monster is this page here, and if reaction table, for instance, this page, and so on. So this is the base of the supplement. Is for basic fantasy RPG. It can be used in other systems as well, but with some minor adjustments. And this is really great. If you face random monsters in the wilderness, it has these wilderness encounter terrain, and this is just a way of creating random terrain. So instead of having just plain terrain with no obstacles and nothing else, just the monsters and the players, this is a way of creating some random terrains, and this is very useful. I did it myself. Um, of course, usually I play these kind of games on paper and pen, not in the computer, so it's hard to emulate this in a computer. But I will try afterwards to test this and show you how this is good. But you just roll 2 of each die, and then depending on the result of the die, you can just draw the map and put the monsters and the players as well. There is always an option of clearing hexes, meaning that the players could just explore everything and try to kill all monsters lairs in the hex and so on. And once all monsters are dead, there is a minor chance, instead of 1d6 it's going to be 1d12 in order to have another random monster in that hex. However, if all hexes are cleaned around this hex, it means that there are no monsters and the hex is cleared. There is some options for movement. It suggests that each hex is about 6 miles, but meaning that you can just it's basically 1 hex per day, but you could use these kind of movement point costs, and then you could move more or less hexes per day depending on it. If you would like to keep track on encumbrance and so on, it can bring some value to you. The same as for the wilderness terrain, there is this way of generating dungeons and caves too. So it's basically the same approach. One roll out of dice, 2 of each one, and then depending on the result, you have these possibilities here. Dungeon rules. There are some tables for dungeon rooms. First, the same to create the dungeon area. You roll up a lot of dice, and afterwards you can just define and see the area feature, what one can find there: doors, floor, ceilings, and some details. You roll 2d20 and see maybe it's a ceiling with eyes, for instance, or it could be I do not know, a statue, wooden. Okay, so a wooden statue, or walls with water dripping, honey pouring. So you just roll 2d20 and see the results, and this is the feature that can be found in a specific area of the dungeon. Then some random rule contents, some traps. If you roll in a trap, for instance, here it says see traps table below, then you have a table of traps. The same here, you have some pit trap type. If you roll for a pit trap, there are some different types as well, and some rules for exploring the dungeon, so for secret doors, hidden compartments, and so on. So of course it's very common in OSR games to hire some hirelings or henchmen. There are some specific rules for these in the basic fantasy core rules, so it suggests it's some things here too. And if you would like to have some kind of story or mission or like a motivation to your characters, there is this way of trying to find a quest. So basically, based on the class, a thief, for instance, could go to a thief guild and roll against charisma and if he or she succeed in it, it means that they have some kind of information, and depending on the how huge is the success, every 2 points over the success target gives an additional piece of information by following this order here. So depending on the location, if it's a thief skill, the location, a treasure, a monster, point of interesting type, or a clue, and there is some explanation for each of these items in this list. So if we go to a point of interest, roll for a point of interest using table 5. If it is a location, we have some information here on how to define the location. And yeah, so once per week, each party member can try to find some information. If they fail, yeah, it means that they lose a week, and then they need to wait for the next week in order to roll that. And if you go to the Easy GURPS NA channel, definitely you are going to see these two, how this guy used these two, and it's really amazing. I will not be able to replicate these with my limited English skill level, so I strongly suggest you to go there and see his channel. Additionally, there are some strongholds and dominion events. I never used these, as I said, but there are some rules here, how to keep population, some events, natural events that could happen, and some effects of your stronghold. There are some examples here as well, how to play, example of wilderness loop, because basically these are the steps that we need to follow, and the same for the dungeon exploration. So step 1 and step 2. And that's basically everything, because now we only have some I would say pages that are helpful to keep track of your adventure. A Hexcrawl log, for instance, you can say day 1, heading to north, for instance, and then just put the number of the hex that you are. If you are using movement points, you can just keep track on it as well here. The terrain type, the vegetation, and water. And have some notes if you find a point of interest in a monster, or if someone died here as well. So instead of drawing each hex, you can just write everything here. The same for the dungeon crawl log. It's exactly the same. Not exactly the same, but very similar. And dominion log, if you have a stronghold and so on. And this is just the open license description. And this is everything that you need to play basic fantasy, a Hexcrawl adventure. As I said, it can be used very easily in any other OSR system. Just the tables for monsters and some other minor tables that you would need to adapt. However, as I said, Basic Fantasy is free, so you could just download it and use even the tables from Basic Fantasy for monster encounters, for instance, and then just grab the monster from Basic Fantasy if you wish, or from your core book that you are using, the system that you are using. Okay, so if I go to my hacks here, and I could just roll just to see what we could find. It should the supplement suggests to create something in the middle, like the city that we are, and suggests to start in a town. But of course, we do not have any terrain yet, so I would need to generate these. So I could say there are some. If we go back to the PDF, we have mountains, hills, plains, and swamp, meaning that we have 4 options. So I could just roll, for instance, 1d4, and okay, it's 1. So actually it's 2. Sorry, yeah, it's really hard to see, but it's 2. So it means that we are in a hills. So I could just draw here um, in my hex, I could just draw some hills, for instance, right in the middle. I could just say here, for instance, I have some hills, and as I should start in a city, maybe I could add here some kind of city too, or maybe I do not know if I have yeah, this house, and then this is where I start. It could be something like this. So this is where I am. My party is here, and I could decide, okay, let's go in any direction. I have 6 options, so maybe here could be 1, for instance. So let's just roll a d6. It's 4, 1, 2, and then okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would go here. So as I'm in hills terrain, I would need to roll in the table again. So it would be d12, and I roll here 2. So 2 means that I'm going to mountains. So in my case, if I go back here now, it would be mountains here. Let me see if I can find some mountains as I can. So here it's a mountain. Usually cities are built close to some kind of water, so maybe I should add maybe I should add here some river or something, and then let me just add a river here, for instance, and then I can check the river here. I didn't set the vegetation as well. I don't think it's relevant right now, but I could just roll for vegetation. The initial vegetation, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 options as well. So again, 1d4, just to see. We are in the hills, and we roll a 3, 1, 2, 3, grassland. Okay, so we are currently in a grassland. I do not have a way of drawing this in that hex. So this is the reason that I prefer pen and paper, because I can just take note of everything without limitation of the tool. But if I consider that I am in a grassland right now, and if I roll a d12, I can just say that in that mountain I have an 8. I still have grassland. Now, it could be relevant for your adventure, but I need to roll. As I said, the town is close to a river, and if it's river, it could be a lake. I just decided for a river, so I need to roll 1d12 to see if in that mountain we have something else. And it's a 3, it means that we have a river as well. So if I go back here, I could just add a river here too, and yeah, maybe I will not try to connect these. I could just maybe rotate this. So I do have a river in this mountain, and the party are here. So the next step would be that I need to check point of interest, and I need to roll 1d8, and if I roll 1, it means that I have, and it's a 7. Okay, it's not a 1. It's look like a 1, but it's a 7. So there's nothing here, but I could have a random encounter. So it means that I need to roll 1d6, and I rolled a 5. If it was a 1, it would mean that I found a mountain. And I just repeat the process for every single hex that I move to. So now I'm in this mountain, and I could say that I'm going to move to this hex, for instance. So once again, let's see what would happen. So I would need to roll again. I'm in the mountain right now, so I would roll d12, and by rolling a d12 I got 3, meaning that I'm still on mountains. and I could just roll everything at once. Let's see the grass, if it's still grasslands, or if it's something else. It's light forest now. So mountains and light forest. And let's see the water, if we still have something. 12, none. Okay, so if I go back, I could just try to add everything right now. So meaning that we do have some mountains here. There is no river. There is actually a light forest, but I do not have a way, I think, of adding light forest here. Let me see if I can do something like this. No, I can't. Okay. So there is a light forest, there is no river, and this is a mountain. And then I would need to roll again to see if I find a point of interest. So it's 1d8, and let's see if I get a 1, and it's a 2, meaning there is no point of interest. And then I need to roll 1d6 to see if I have an encounter, and it is a 2 as well, meaning there is no encounter. Of course, if I consider that I move one day here, this is another day, and I spent rations when I move from one hex to another. It means that I spend the whole day by walking, sleeping, and doing other stuff. There are some people that add some kind of additional actions to their game, such as hunting or foraging or doing something else. This is actually one thing that I really like to do, but by following the supplement, it's just this, just exploring everything up until you find something, any loot, or if you need to run back to a town. It is even possible to find other towns as well, if you roll in their tables. Now what I would like to try is show you somehow, let's see if I can do this, how we can draw a scene, a combat scene. For instance, as I said, we have these tables for wilderness terrain and so on, and I will just grab this one here, this table, and I need to roll 2 of each die, and then I need to, once I have these, I can draw a terrain. So 3 branch, rocks, and so on. I will just try to draw something just as an example. Let's see if I can make it happen. It's going to be tough, but let's see. So this is my game scene, and I need to roll 2 of each. So 2d20, 2d12s, 2d10s, 2d8s, 2d6, and 2d4. And if I roll this, yeah, so here is my map. I have some terrain differences here. This is cliff or something. We have some bushes, some rocks, a boulder, some fallen trees, some water, and then now I could just maybe add some some adventures to my map, and then we could have a fight here. So basically, this is a very useful tool. Of course, in a computer, it's harder to roll all the dice, and then draw everything. But I think I found a way of doing this, so I could have now the creatures uh, here, and it's now way more, I would say, complete, because now, okay, I do have this goblin uh, up here in this boulder throwing um, bolts to against the heroes, and if the heroes want to go, they need to climb it or go through the water. So we have some difficult terrains here that can change and can bring some challenge to the battle, and the same for the creatures as well. So they can hide behind a rock now. The enemies can move as well, and try to get some cover if needed. And I think this is really useful when you are playing your solo games, because most of the time the GM brings this to the table. But as you are the GM, I think the randomness of this method is useful in order to be really to simulate what a GM would do. And that's all. I hope you like this video. I try to show how useful and simple as well this supplement is. Uh, Once again, I repeat myself a lot, I know that, but I strongly suggest you to go to the EasyGURP YouTube channel and watch the videos there, because this guy, he created this supplement, if I'm not wrong, and he plays this a lot by using not only basic fantasy RPG, but even other systems. So once again, I hope you like it. Please feel free to add comments to this video in order to tell me what I can improve, what you like it, what we didn't like. And yeah, once again, thank you and have a great day. Bye bye.